Hello! Welcome! Sorry to yell in your ear.
You're still yelling in the ears.
Welcome, everybody. If you are seeing this, you're one of the first ones in the room, so please feel free to say hello on the chat so we can know this is actually working. We have an awesome show for you today, I guess. I have a lot of topics here. Sometimes we don't get to any of the topics because you guys ask amazing questions and we just kind of go off those, but we got a lot to get to. We super chat donations will be going to Indigenous Mutual Aid. Is that correct?
That is correct. Indigenous Mutual Aid.
Yes. So, hey, we got someone here. MC Norman, welcome.
All right, it's working.
It's working.
Hey, and
it's working.
On Facebook. And
on Facebook as well. All right. Hey, AJ. So, yeah, a lot of topics to get into. Trump's poll ratings have tanked. The pandemic's poll ratings through the roof. People love the pandemic. It really, I mean, if you go off of how many people have been impacted by it.
Particularly in Arizona and California, real popular.
Real popular. So the pandemic, worse than maybe ever before, at least for most of the country, except maybe New York. Getting crazy on that front. Like I said, Trump's poll ratings are getting like hilariously low. He thinks a race war is the answer. He earlier today he tweeted a video, or yesterday tweeted a video where at the end of the video someone yells "white power," and it was then deleted. And he said he didn't see that person say that because he doesn't notice when people yell white supremacist things on his videos that he retweets. Because, it's just, white supremacy is just kind of background noise to him now.
Right.
It doesn't even really register, Like if you hear a beeping nearby at first, so then you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's like that for him. He's yelling white power. He's just so used to everybody around him just being like, yeah, white power. Like I was saying, quick updates. If you're on Facebook, please come over to youtube.com/moment of clarity. That is where you can be part of thanks. That's where you can be part of the super chat conversation where anyone can donate. Hey, Lucy's here. I believe this is very late in the night for Lucy. So thanks for making it, Lucy, over in England. Thanks for being here, everybody. The donations this week will be going to Indigenous Mutual Aid. Every proceed dollar that you donate will be going to Indigenous Mutual Aid. And last week we did Mint Press News, and we donated $325 to Mint Press News last week. So everybody who was involved in that, thank you so much. They're doing incredible stuff. But feel free to throw up topics or questions, and we will do our best to get to them. If we get a lot of people in the room, then it gets going pretty fast. But thanks everybody for being here. I wanted to start off until we get a question that. Oh, hey, thanks for the donation, Reese. Reese is always first on this thing. Reese always gets the ball rolling. So before we get to your topics, I wanted to talk about the amazing story that's been out on mainstream media. They were like, you know what? We just haven't. Thank you, Michael. We just haven't had enough of the Cold War recently. Enough anti-Russia stuff. We haven't really been forcing it down people's throats with like a goddamn fucking 2x4. So we need some more anti-Russia shit. And so the latest story is that Russia paid Taliban fighters to kill American soldiers. Now, let me read you just one quote from David Swanson. This is not from me. If you want to say I'm some sort of horrible foreign agent, then keep in mind, this quote not from me. It's from an author named David Swanson. A great anti-war author. You should look up his stuff. He says, the New York Times claims that Russia offered to pay Afghans to kill U.S. and allied troops. It does not claim that any payments were made. It does not claim that any troops were killed. It does not claim that any impact was had on anything. It does not name its sources. It does not offer any evidence other than the supposed assertions of nameless government officials, which Mike Pompeo, when he was head of the CIA, said that they lie. Their job is to lie. He said that. David Swanson continues, it does not offer any justification for not naming them. Thank you, Lucy. It does not provide the context of all the years the U.S. government spent arming and funding Afghans to kill Russians, nor all the more recent years during which the U.S. military has been both the enemy of the Taliban and its top funding. Yes, you heard that right. or at least second to opium, David Swanson says. It promotes the ridiculous and debunked Russiagate notion that Trump is too kind to Russia. So that is from David Swanson. This hilarious propaganda you're now getting from your mainstream media.
I would like to, side note, sorry everyone, for some reason...
No, give yourself some, this is a main note. It's a main note here.
I cannot highlight your comments. I don't know why. So we're just going to have to read them and then, thank you for the donations. I'm not sure what the fuck's going on with Restream.
Doesn't mean we hate you.
No, it just means that I have not been able to.
Normally, for those who are regulars, normally it comes up on the screen whenever you donate and
I can highlight it,
but
I can't. But that doesn't mean that we're not reading them. I can see the chat. I just want you to know that I'm not like avoiding posting them on the image there. But I did want to highlight what I was trying to, like, if anyone heard me like furiously clicking over here while you were talking, Lee, there were several comments that were basically saying, yeah, this Russia bullshit is getting really, really old. Indeed it is. And I saw a post earlier today from a veteran that said basically that our country sent us to die for the profit of the ruling class in the United States, and now they're trying to make it sound like it's Russia's fault, which is really, I mean, and the fucked up thing is that people fall for this because the propagandization runs so deep. A friend of mine who is a bit older than me said that growing up, when he grew up like really in the Cold War, because I wasn't born till '86, so I didn't like go to school during the Cold War. He said that one of the things that they learned in school was shit like better dead than red and kill a commie for mommy. Like legit, like sang and chanted that shit in school. Like that's, yes. Patriotism.
Yeah, I know. That's what they were being taught, and apparently we haven't let it go. I'm getting some comments that the video is choppy. Are other people seeing that? We're not sure why, but we don't really have a solution right now. But I hope the audio at least is going strong.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure. It seems to we have the same exact setup that we had last week, so I'm not really sure. Somebody said it's Russia's fault.
I blame Russia. Yeah, definitely Russia.
So maybe
I actually blame Rachel Maddow. I'm pretty sure she lives in the electrical ducts here in my building and cuts things off.
That's terrifying. Now I can't sleep. God damn it, Lee. I'd much rather watch Halloween or fucking Friday the 13th like on repeat than think about that. Good Lord.
Oh yeah, we forgot to introduce your red hair. The hair is red.
Now joining.
Sorry about the choppiness. I hope it gets better as it goes on. I hear the audio is great, which is really what matters, because what we're saying is our ugly faces are not the point of this show.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, her ugly face is the point of this show. Mine is not. All right, well, so yes, someone else was pointing out, someone else mentioned that there's little no evidence of this other than the State Department bullshit that they put forward when they need propaganda. They say, oh, Russia paid a troop somewhere to kill someone, as if the Taliban needed a reward to try and kill the invading American troops. Now, I don't want American troops to die, but as if the Taliban needed money to do that. By the way, for those who are wondering, we also fund the Taliban, meaning we're funding the Taliban to kill U.S. troops, because this came out fucking 6 or 10 years ago. I used to talk about it on stage 10 years ago. That's how long the Afghanistan war is. That it came out that the U.S., yes, 20 years old now, that the U.S. was paying the Taliban to let our trucks through on the mountain passes through the roads because we needed to get our supply trucks to our troops. So we were paying the Taliban to fight the Taliban. There you go.
What was it you said, that we were losing a game of solitaire?
We were losing a game of solitaire, and no wonder a group of scrappy, troops in there, scrappy guys in sandals and ripped clothing can compete with the most powerful military in the world. It's because they have us on their side. So
well, the other thing that I think is really, absurd about this whole thing is that the idea that that Russia would have to pay the Taliban to make them want to shoot at people invading their country. Or that, with regards to Black Lives Matter, like you'd have to convince people to hate the fact that they're being murdered by cops. Like, no, people are just angry about those things naturally. Like, no one needs to come in and bolster that shit. And really, what the U.S. is doing is it's claiming that Russia is doing what the U.S. does, which is go into places where there's protesting happening, like Hong Kong, for instance, and start like, what's been shown with Hong Kong protesters is that several right-wing Republican senators and representatives have kind of formed contacts with these Hong Kong protesters in order to really bolster the idea that China's evil, China's evil, China's bad. So,
the Democrats supported it wholeheartedly.
Totally.
Yeah. They voted for an anti-China bill, I believe.
And of course, the U.S. intervenes all over the fucking place. So we're saying that Russia is doing what we do. It's a very, what do you call it in psychology? Projecting? We're projecting.
Yeah.
We're projecting on Russia what we actually do around the world. So, and meanwhile, how many military bases does Russia have outside of Russia? How many military bases does China have outside of China? Like one, I think. So
China has one outside of China. Russia has 10. However, almost all of those are in previous Soviet bloc countries. So,
right, and this is not me saying yay Russia or yay China. It's saying that these countries are not guilty of intervening violently in other countries' matters like the U.S. does. And one person I saw here says, I still feel bad for the protesters in Hong Kong. I think the issue here is that it's not like an on-off switch. It's not black and white. Like there are people that are protesting in Hong Kong because they're very, very disgusted with the income inequality and the extreme, social issues that are valid in Hong Kong. But the point is that the U.S. is intervening in order to make this play out for U.S. policy that is anti-China. Yeah. So both of those are true at the same time.
Please, if you'd like, folks, to click the $sign, and you can throw a couple of dollars. This week is all of them are going to Indigenous Mutual Aid. So, just click the $sign there, and you can give a couple of dollars towards that this week. If anybody, let's see, well, there's other great points here. We can keep talking on, stay on this topic. Someone said, what about the opium? And yes, the opium production was going way down in Afghanistan right before we invaded. Basically, the Taliban had, I believe, outlawed it, and it was getting cut back to nothing. And then we invaded, and it shot through the roof. And we protect the opium fields to make sure that they aren't harmed. And then Afghanistan exports something like 80% of the world's opium, and the U.S. uses most of that. So we are huge opium insourcing. What do you call it? Importing. Insourcing. So we import tons of opium. And unfortunately, of course, it's killing a lot of our citizens. However, you're not going to see the Sackler family who owned Purdue Pharma going to jail for the hundreds of thousands of Americans they have killed.
Yeah, no, it's really, really quite grotesque. Trying to see, folks, again, if you want to learn more about Indigenous Mutual Aid before you click the $1 on YouTube.
Thank you, Sassy Girl, for the donation.
Thank you, Sassy Girl. You can check out indigenousmutualaid.org, and they are basically a big hub for mutual aid, particularly in places like Navajo country that's still suffering greatly with coronavirus and, like all parts of indigenous areas.
Thanks, Chris. $10.
Thank you, Chris. Like all parts of indigenous, it's all indigenous land, but like places, like all reservations in the United States have far less resources than any other areas in the United States. So they have been working incredibly hard to make sure that people can get fresh water because there's not a lot of running water on reservations that folks can get supplies. So we are very much trying to get them some good donations tonight. So if you can, it doesn't have nobody has to give like $50 or anything at a time.
Although Anthony just gave 25.
Thank you, Anthony.
Amazing. Thank you.
Little donations are so appreciated and welcome. So if you're on youtube.com/momentofclarity, if you're on Facebook, you can bounce over to YouTube, and there will be a little $sign next to where you comment, where you can throw in a couple bucks or what have you.
Another point I want to make is how hilarious that the mainstream media, the corporate media, wants us to believe this latest story after they have literally spent years selling a horseshit Russiagate story that now, if you actually read the Mueller report, if you actually take the time, he's got like fucking nothing. They weren't, hey, $10, thank you. Mr. Honeybee, awesome name.
Thank you. Mr. Honeybee says that they like my hair. And that
you're getting a lot of hair high fives right now. So, if you read the Mueller report, if you actually look through the Mueller report, it's so flimsy that they had to drop most of the indictments that they did bring against a Russian troll farm that had up clickbait ads that they claimed somehow influenced it collapsed. And then Mueller was in front of the Senate and he couldn't even speak about it. One senator was like, can you tell me such and such? And he goes, I'm not allowed to tell you that. And he goes, actually you are, because it's in your own report. I'll read it to you. Like,
thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Judith. It all collapsed. And so now the same corporate outlets like fucking CNN and MSNBC that told you this new Cold War had to happen and was right and that they helped Trump, and it all collapsed. Now they're telling you again, listen to us. We know what we're talking about. We've talked to one administration or whatever, government source, and now Russia's paying soldiers to kill Americans. It amazes me that people fall for it over and over again.
Well, yeah, and there's a comment here by David. I hate the new Cold War, same as the old Cold War, and it's true. And I think that's why it's easy to recycle it, right? It's because it's a foe that we already have used. It's a foe that we've gotten comfortable with.
It works again and again.
Yeah, and so people are comfortable using this recycled propaganda, and it's so absurd. Like, people actually say, I've heard people say, I grew up knowing that Russia couldn't be trusted. Oh, you grew up knowing that? Okay. Well, people also grew up fucking believing in Santa. Like, shit, you grow up and you realize that shit wasn't true, right? Like, that's the whole point of growing up. But people fall for it. It's so fun. And like, literally, like, when you ask people, okay, and I've had this conversation with people who are intelligent, and look, I get it. It's hard when everyone's saying this, all corporate media is saying the same thing, and it's hard to find the alternative media that's like saying these things.
Thank you, IKEA.
IKEA,
no.
It's hard to find alternative media, particularly with the amount of suppression that's going on. So I get it. But then the question is, which is, media literacy, which we all have to continue practicing all of the time, is, well, where are you getting that information from? Right. Outside of the talking heads, right. Where is that source?
Outside of anonymous
right.
Government sources.
Where is the proof?
It was the same with WMD. I mean, didn't we fucking learn anything from WMD in Iraq that we shouldn't trust our mainstream media when they run around and say, I have an anonymous source that I can't tell you about, very secret, and I can't tell you, and yet you should still believe me. Oh, really? Really? I mean, and it's sad, like, look, aren't there enough reasons to hate Trump without making shit up? There are enough reasons. Thank you, Christine. There are enough reasons. There are enough reasons to hate Trump. There's a million reasons to show how fucking what a fraud he is, what a corporate hack he is. All these reasons that you could be hateful of Trump, that you could want to impeach Trump for enriching himself with the presidency, all of these things. And no, none of that. As the Democrats, as the establishment media, none of that. We're going to sit here and create a fucking fairy tale that we're going to push so that we can, have some geopolitical power against Russia.
Yeah, Lucy makes a good point. One of the first things Lee ever told me was to believe nothing and question everything. Absolutely. This person's also requesting that all of your thank yous be in an angry voice, and I would like to second that request.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll work on it. What was the other? Before you have a brain aneurysm, what were some of the other stories? I feel like we should switch gears. Switch gears. And by the way, anyone feel free to bring up stories you'd like to talk about, even if we don't get to them. Maybe people in the chat room want to get to it. I saw someone. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and again, if you're just joining us, there seems to be. Thank you, Victoria. there seems to be a bit of a problem with the video.
You can read someone was worried you weren't going to read the emojis.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Victoria is para-character exaggerating, stretching his arm forward to offer a cup of coffee.
So there's your emoji that you can't see, unfortunately, this week. But.
Okay, well, seriously, though, the first time that these popped up, I literally thought someone had just written para-character, etc.
Someone was just losing their minds as they were donating.
What's going on?
So they had enough sense to actually make the donation, but then they were like, para-character dancing! Like, just lost their mind.
Look, I'm not here to judge.
Someone was, in terms of other topics, someone was asking about Epstein and Epstein's client list, which I agree. Basically, Epstein's death was the nail in the coffin for him and for the story. Like, the mainstream media is just like, yep, oh, that's it, it's over, whoa, what do you know? And I actually have it's a 10-minute segment on what is still being covered up about Epstein in the upcoming Redacted Tonight, so this coming Friday, not this past Friday's Redacted Tonight. And so I encourage you to check that out. There's one big angle. Even though there is a Netflix documentary on Epstein, there's a Discovery investigation on Epstein, all these video series are coming out. There's something very important that they're not covering, and I'll leave it at that. It's going to be on Redacted Tonight. ...
Ooh, cliffhanger. Gotta watch Redacted Tonight now. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that if you're just joining us, there seems to be a bit of an issue with video. Apologies. I say that like it's my fault. It's not. We're using the same exact setup that we used in the weeks past.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Where the video was fine. So I'm assuming there's some chicanery going on with Restream. And so, yeah, apologies about that. However, we're still going, and the audio seems to be working, so maybe just, yeah.
And to the, wow, $20 from Chuck. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck.
And he says War Machine tried this same lie a while back in Syria. I think he means the lie about paying soldiers to kill Americans. So maybe yeah, you might be right that they tried that same horseshit. I mean, here's the thing: is this? So this is useful to create a story like this. Russia's paying, and they can make it up anytime they want because it's too thin to be. You can't actually go and find a soldier that I met the Taliban guy who was paid by the Russians. You're not going to find that. So in fact, they can say this, and no one can prove them wrong. And it's useful to them. Who benefits the most? Biden benefits, corporate Democrats benefit, really the Republicans benefit in terms of the Cold War, the new Cold War. They want that too. So, the oligarchy benefits, and they get to sideline leftist voices and call them Russian as well. So there's a lot of people that benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall we move on to
Yes.
what Trump is trying to use as a distraction because his poll numbers have tanked? His new distraction is one of his new distractions. He always has a few going, but one of them is prosecuting people who try and take down statues, like going nuts about them and creating a witch hunt. This is disgusting. It's like, imagine the amount of violence that goes on around our country towards innocent people, immigrants, the health care that they can't get, not just immigrants. Wow, it's NOK. What? I don't know what the country that is.
Norway.
Oh, Norway.
Thank you, and hello.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
But imagine all that, like, in terms of the harm that is done by people can't get healthcare and everything, and Trump is like, we need to get these fucking people that brought down a racist statue. That really needs to be our focus.
So really quick, Martin, I'm saying his name in a Swedish voice, sorry.
You're hoity-toity, I pronounced it correctly.
These are my people. Although I will say, I totally, if you're in Norway, I totally support Norway's decision to not let in any Swedes at this moment because we're doing really stupid shit right now.
Whoa, $50 from J9, thank you.
But Martin says that
J9, you rock.
He's working on a platform-based direct democracy political party in Norway. Secured with governmental digital signature. I don't really know what that means, but anything that's secured with a governmental digital signature sounds a little bit because it's Well, Norway isn't as corrupt as the U.S. or even Sweden. Sweden is butt scooting towards U.S. Fascism slowly but surely. Is it time to abolish representative democracy, though? Thoughts?
Representative democracy. My question would be, and replace it with what? You're talking about with direct democracy? It's conceivable, but there need to be some caveats. I mean, if you have a country that has a large voting bloc of white power people, and they successfully vote for they end up with the majority of votes saying that people of color should be beaten in the face every time they go to the market. I don't think that's good democracy.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, what was it, like Democracy 4.0 or Democracy 2.0 or something. There was some like idea of doing the same thing in the U.S. so that our voting system would only basically like, it would be the people deciding on things directly, and a representative would only be brought in as like a tiebreaker, basically if people had kind of reached a stalemate on an issue. So that was one thing that was brought up years ago, I believe, like just after Occupy. And I think like first of all, I think it's really important and good to be thinking about these things and about how to make things better using technology, because I think technology can and should be used for good things and not just for evil things.
I like Mad Max's comment. He says, "Can't we just zeitgeist already?"
I have some thoughts about that too, but that will.
It was a bit of a joke.
But yeah. So I think I guess I would want to know more about exactly what that would look like. But I think representative democracy.
The devil's in the details, I think, is what you're saying.
Representative democracy, the way that it's been done, or if you could even suggest that it has been done, is not working, particularly in a country the size of the U.S. And I don't think it's really working in Sweden or Norway, for that matter.
Oh, we got a Swedish one. SEK 500.
That is Swedish.
Thank you, Jonas. Jonas?
He says, I have no idea where my money's going, but I trust Eleanor. Jonas, it's going to...
I trust Eleanor.
It's going... Tack så mycket.
Let me tell you, that is a bad idea.
Hey! Dina pengar går till Indigenous Mutual Aid. Did you understand what I said?
I heard Indigenous Mutual Aid. Thank you, Jim. $10.
It's going to Indigenous Mutual Aid, and I will actually go ahead and put that address here in the chat.
Oh, wait, I forgot I was supposed to be doing these angry. Thank you, Jim. $10.
What about Jonas? You got to thank him angry.
Thank you, Jonas. Yeah, that's even better. Jonas.
It's not Jonas. It's Jonas.
Thank you, Jonas. You can't yell that. It's impossible to yell.
You know what's funny? Somebody once told me that I speak quieter when I speak Swedish, which is funny because I feel like I speak quietly anyway.
Oh, you do tone it down when you speak Swedish.
Really? I think because it feels so
fluffy.
Not
fluffy language.
Funny thing.
I think we've gotten derailed.
Funny little tidbit of information.
I think we've gotten derailed.
The Germans have no word for fluffy. Because you can't imagine.
And that caused the Holocaust.
You can't imagine, true story. You can't imagine saying fluffy in German because, okay, here's another little tidbit. The German word for butterfly, you know, like the adorable little things that fly around and they're very delicate and lovely.
Everyone knows what a butterfly
is. Schmetterling. That's the fucking German word for butterfly.
Schmetterling!
Right? I love you. Ich liebe dich. I'm serious. That's how you say I love you. Can you imagine whispering that softly in someone's ear? You fucking get flat
everywhere.
All right.
Anyone who donates in the next 5 minutes gets Eleanor to yell I love you in German at them. So I think that's, I mean, what more do you need to donate, I think?
Although I will say, Jonas is saying that he has an unyellable name. Anyway,
we should get, we really need to get, this is too much.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, I don't remember what I was talking about. Representative government. There was something in there. Can't remember zeitgeist already.
See?
No, I lost it.
You want to interrupt me, but you don't even know why. I will say, I love you is even worse in Finnish. I can't remember how to say it, but it is horrifying sounding. And that's your useless trivia for the day.
All right. Oh, I was talking about Trump and his change of subject and his horseshit witch hunt. Also, I said at the beginning of this, although most of you weren't here yet, that he tweeted a video where someone at the end of the video says "white power," yells "white power."
Thank you, Jared.
No, you know what he's looking for. You have to yell "I love you" in German.
Ich liebe dich, Jared.
Come on. We've made an offer.
I'm sorry. You made an offer.
We've got to live up to what the people...
I don't feel like I have to live up to your offer.
Listen, you got to live up to what the people want. Let's see. So, Donald Trump... Oh, I know what someone wrote there that I know you'll love to address. Who is going to be Biden's VP?
Okay, first off, it doesn't matter. Because whoever it is, if he goes for somebody like Kamala Harris, appeasing the people, they're like, oh, it has to be a woman of color. Let's not forget that Kamala Harris...
A woman of color will fix his past.
But not only that...
Will fix his fucking racist crime bill past.
Not only that, but Kamala Harris is a cop. Like, she is responsible for putting black people behind bars in cages. So the idea, this is the problem that we saw in 2016, right? Treating women like they're a monolith, treating like black folks like they're a monolith. The idea that just because it's a black person, that means that they're going to be good, or just because they're a woman, that means that they're going to be good. No, it doesn't. Hillary's a horrible fucking human being. Kamala Harris is a horrible human being. It doesn't matter, like, their identifiers that line up with oppressed groups do not mean that they're for those oppressed groups.
Right, and the same goes, unfortunately, for, people who are like, oh, well, he's black, so he must be good. There are Republican, there's like Ben Carson and shit. And they're like, oh, but he's black, so he gets it. It's like, no, you've just put forward a black person who is willing to oppress black people. It doesn't make it good or better.
Yeah. And, so, I don't know who the VP is going to be. Honestly.
Thank you, Lene.
Thank you. I don't know who the VP is going to be. And honestly, I don't care because whoever it is going to be...
Solga from Palestine. Wow.
Wow.
Nice to meet you. Actually,
we're going to get on to that.
We're getting
topic.
to Palestine in a minute. That's the next topic.
Thank you. Love to Palestine.
Oh, but that wasn't in German.
I don't know how to... Oh, I thought you were asking... Never mind. Wow. I can't tell. I got confused. I thought you were then asking me to say it in Arabic, and I just got really confused.
Thank you, Moki. I can't tell if people are still donating to get the German "I love you." So
okay, fine.
I've lost.
Ich liebe dich, Solga, and ich liebe dich, Maki. But I'm not doing this all fucking night. All right.
I think we're done.
Yes, and Viva Palestine. I think that, with regards to the VP pick, it's going to be somebody who bolsters U.S. empire, and that includes, foreign policy a la, Israel and Palestine, and a la the endless wars. It's going to be somebody who approves of that platform. So that's why I don't really care, because it's not going to be anybody that's going to significantly change the status quo or wants to change the status quo.
Well, and on top of all of that, the VP does nothing unless you get a situation like Bush and Cheney, right, where they knew they were putting the fucking ruling elite. The people around him knew they were putting him in as a puppet so that they could control him. That was their goal, and he knew that basically. I mean, he's not very bright, but he was like, yeah, you guys do it all. And so Cheney was like, yeah, we got it. We'll handle foreign policy. And so in that scenario, yes, Cheney as the VP did matter because he was running things. In general, the VP doesn't actually, under Obama, Biden did not matter. He didn't do shit except go to the Ukraine and, get the prosecutor fired who was looking into his son. But that's another story. But in general, Biden didn't do shit because the VP doesn't do shit. And yet it's put forward as this big thing. Oh, this means Biden cares about black people because he put in a person of color. It's crazy.
It's bullshit. Now, it seems a good time since everybody, which is awesome, everybody is radically posting Free Palestine and badassery like that. So would you like to talk about the interesting language around the word annex?
Yeah, so the main news story that has been happening around Israel right now is that Israel has announced or put forward that they will soon, and it could be in the coming days. I don't know how much pressure there is against them, so like whether they're still trying to figure it out, but that they have said that they plan to or may soon annex 30% of the West Bank that has been fought over for a generation. And this is on top of all of the land they continue to take from the Palestinians using settlements and other means. And it is, and it's being talked about in the mainstream media, oh, Israel might annex this. But every time they do it, no matter the source, really, they keep using the word annex. Annex. They're going to annex part of it. Well, what does annex really mean? It's like they want to use that word just so it's confusing, just a little bit of what I don't really know what annex. I think it means. I think a lot of Americans go, oh, I think it means they have some claim to it. And they're just collecting on their claim. Like when you, at the end of gambling, you go to the pit boss and you get your money back.
You annex your money.
You annex your money. No, annex is just a euphemism for steal.
Stealing violently.
It's just robbing. There's no reason to use the word fucking annex, all right? It's just to steal. And
it's neo-colonialism is what it is.
Yeah, and so I'm so sick of this just like, these headlines and news stories all over fucking New York Times, USA Today, Israel might annex the West Bank. No, because you know it would sound bad if it said Israel's going to fucking steal 30% of the West Bank. And, you know, a few other facts about Palestine that I try and always bring up.
This guy goes, you and us again. I think Poland was annexed some time ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's fucking stealing. It is invading.
Well, the U.S. used to say that the U.S. used to do this a lot, where they would say that they annex certain parts of America, you know, from the Native American. They're annexing it, right, from the Native Americans. But some other facts about Palestine, which I always like to try and get out there when it comes up, because I feel like these are the type of things people forget. 50% of Palestinians are under 18, meaning this war that is done on these people is on like a majority children. I mean, how fucking bizarre is that? How disgusting. The things that were done during the Great March of Return and continue to be done fairly regularly, like shooting medics, shooting lawyers, shooting elderly, shooting children, all these things, those are war crimes if it were a war. If there were literal soldiers on both sides with goddamn guns, those would still be war crimes. But why aren't they war crimes while Israel does it to unarmed citizens who are on the other side of fucking barbed wire? They're not even a risk to you, and you're killing them. Like, it's so fucking maddening.
Yeah. And this could be a good time for, and I'm only bringing this up because I've gotten a few messages in the past like month. I've gotten several messages in the past month that again don't understand the fucking difference between Jews and Israel. Exhibit A, Jews. Jews.
Well, Jew by birth, atheist by choice.
Well, right, culturally Jewish, but still Jews. Okay, Jews.
I'm a little offended.
And I just called him a Jew, it's true. And we're anti-Israel. That is a very important thing to fucking understand, because actually the Israeli state and the oppression by the Israeli state leads to anti-Semitism because it conflates Jews with Israel. And that's fucking not true. Because anti-Zionism, and Zionism, for those who don't know, is the basically like the quest for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. And anti-Zionism has a rich Jewish history. So many Jews have stood up against Zionism. So the idea that all Jews are on the side of fucking Israel is dangerous, and it's not fucking true. It's incredibly important that we make that very clear. So, yeah, now that's, I'm stepping off of that.
Well, and the other current news story that applies to is in the UK. They continue this anti-Semite witch hunt against the Labour Party, which has been used to completely derail and destroy Jeremy Corbyn's movement, Jeremy Corbyn himself, and it's all horseshit. It's equivalent to Russiagate here in the US. It's just designed to sideline anybody who's even remotely left wing. It's largely worked. As Russiagate, sadly, despite the fact that it all collapsed, Mueller was a disaster, the Mueller report was a disaster, all of that, it has largely worked in its goal, which was to sideline Bernie Sanders. Other left-wing people like myself have been heavily suppressed online. So it's like a lot of it has worked. Now I hope that the ripples of what we've created continue to grow, and so therefore it's not a failure. It's not like we know we've failed, but it has worked in a lot of ways in what they intended it for.
Yeah.
What else, folks? Let us know your questions, your topics. We got about 20 minutes left, and thanks for hanging out with us. If you click the $ next to the comments, you can give a small donation it's all going to Indigenous Mutual Aid this week. Oh, I was going to say...
Do you realize that as soon as you said that I wasn't going to yell Ich liebe dich anymore, then the donation stopped? So I would just like to say that I am willing, even though this was his fucking idea, I am willing to go back and yell Ich liebe dich if you... which means I love you in German. It's not anything weird. It sounds fucking weird. But I am willing to yell that at you if you donate.
Someone, RB is saying, fix your damn streaming. Are you on DSL or some shit? We will have you know that, in fact, I am now paying, as of a month ago, for a much higher level of streaming. So whatever it is that's slowing us down, it's not that.
I don't know why we're using the same exact setup that we were in past weeks. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm not really sure why this is happening. We will try to figure it out before next week.
But I was going to say...
But this person on Facebook wants to donate, but Facebook won't let you. That's true. You have to go, Watson, to youtube.com/Moment of Clarity, and that's where you can donate. All of the money is going to Indigenous Mutual Aid.
I was going to say that you should, because it's been on several weeks since we've explained what mutual aid is.
Right. So mutual aid is basically a form of the community healing and helping itself. It's the idea of reciprocal aid in the form of food, in the form of medical assistance, in the form of, what's the word? Psychological, mental health, in terms of helping someone move, whatever the community needs. Mutual aid is the idea of doing it for and with your community, and it's basically the antidote and the antithesis to a capitalist profit motive structure that says I'm only helping you if it's good for my bottom line. Mutual aid says I want to help you because I am you. And as Simone de Beauvoir said, in order for me to will my own freedom, I must will yours as well. Or the other adage, none of us are free until all of us are free. So it's that idea set into motion. It is the action of a political, radical leftist theory. And so mutual aid is something that a lot of...
Thank you, Bob.
It's
Do
not,
it. You said
well, it's not showing up here yet.
yell.
Hold on. Oh, dear, I'm way behind. Ich liebe dich, Bob. And I think you're fucking enjoying this more than anybody. I agree, Maki. French is the most beautiful language. And if anybody speaks French, just call me and let me listen to you talk.
Something I want to ask you guys. Oh, are you done with mutual aid?
Well, I was just going to say, Indigenous Mutual Aid combines, on their website, it basically says ceremony and solidarity, not charity on stolen lands. And the important thing to note here is that charity is, it's hierarchical, it's transactional, whereas solidarity, solidarity puts us on the same playing field, and solidarity recognizes that we are, we are each other. So
$10. Thank you, Samantha.
Ich liebe dich, Samantha. Now I'm tripping over those words. But yeah, so Indigenous Mutual Aid is a collection.
Whoa, $30 from Juliet. Thank you.
Is a collection of folks that are working on mutual aid in indigenous areas, particularly Navajo country. So yeah, that's where the money is going this week. So if you can, please do donate, because in particular Navajo and Hopi land in the West are hurting a lot.
And the Navajo have been hurt really bad by coronavirus.
Yes. Ich liebe dich, Juliet.
$30. I think Juliet is winning the donation race at this time. Incredible. Thank you so much. Something I wanted to ask you guys.
I know, je t'aime is much nicer than équilibre, but it's not funny if I say je t'aime, then it's just kind of like weird and kind of creepered. So
it doesn't work.
But I agree.
You guys can just keep it. If you want to put the answer to this question in the comments, I'm not going to address them all, but it would help us. Someone was saying that the stream is going slow because Sunday is a big streaming day, so maybe we're being interrupted by other streams. So that reminds me, I'd love to know what day you think we should do this.
Crowdsource some ideas.
Let's crowdsource some ideas.
Friday?
We've been going between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thank you, Lene.
That's actually true.
On Saturdays, we found that not as many of you are available to come hang out with us. So I think Saturdays is probably not going to work. But Sundays have been good, and Fridays have been pretty good. So let us know if a day particularly works for you, and we'll try and see what wins.
Austin, thank you so much for this quote or this comment. I'm broke, but I love you both. Now picture two mice hugging a banana.
I appreciate that because that's the first non-pair
right,
emoji.
The pairs are...
Now picture. Wouldn't it be good if every emoji came with now picture this right before it? Now picture this pair humping a banana.
Tina would like to know if you guys have had a chance to read The Pile of Excrement Plastered by John Bolton. I believe you have.
I read 2 chapters that leaked out. I mean from his anus.
Oh, God, Lee. They're my children watching.
Now picture John Bolton's anus.
No.
Thanks again, Lene. I made some comments about it on our podcast, Common Censored. If you want to listen to a longer discussion of that, it's on Common Censored, but which is free anywhere you listen to podcasts. However, the chapter I read was about him dealing with Trump on Syria, and he really was like his first couple days as a security advisor and a national security advisor, and he was really trying to push Trump to just bomb the ever-living fuck out of Syria in order to stop the chemical weapons usage that we needed to stop in Syria. And Trump just kept going back and forth. I don't know if we should bomb. And General Mattis, the defense secretary, was also like, I don't know if we should bomb that much. And he gave him some lighter options, just a few bombs, rather than the let's obliterate a lot of Syria option. And Bolton was a hero, the liberal fucking hero. Bolton, Maddow and them are talking about him like he's a hero right now, okay? Stephen Colbert gave him a little flighty interview. Oh, I'm not going to ask you tough questions. I'll just, we'll ask you why you didn't testify in the impeachment process. That's their only tough question. And so they're holding him up. Bolton is a fucking war criminal, and he was trying to push Trump and a war criminal and Mattis, a war criminal, into bombing Syria more, and he couldn't get them to do it. And so ultimately they do a light bombing rather than blowing the shit out of Syria, and it enraged Bolton. Bolton was furious. Thanks, Mike. Furious that they hadn't bombed more in Syria. But of course, bombing Syria puts us on the cusp of fucking nuclear war with Russia, with possibly Iran, it's like you don't know where that can fucking go. So it's idiotic and of course killing innocent civilians, but they never think of that shit. So anyway, it's like to watch CNN, MSNBC, these fucking so-called liberal media fawn over this guy. Now, Fox News fawns over him for the past fucking 10 years. They fucking love Bolton. 20 years. They love Bolton. That's different. They've been the devil's anus for fucking ever. Whereas MSNBC and CNN, you're like, how do you act like you give a shit about humanity and you love John Bolton? That's my piece. I've said my piece. I will now cede the floor.
I'm with you. I wasn't dying to get in there. No. I just interrupt you if I had a point. So I'm taking the tally of votes here. We've got several votes for Friday. We got several votes for Tuesday, which is interesting. I'm wondering what is it about Tuesday that's all of a sudden kind of sexy for people.
Who's got time for heavy drinking politics on a Tuesday? That's crazy.
Lee, I mean, it's just come on. So please do continue to vote on what day you would would prefer a live stream. Someone did say they prefer whichever day the video works. I agree. We will try to figure out which day that is. So yes, got another vote for Friday, another vote for Sunday. You can continue. I'm just.
Who is it that's letting me down right now? Is it Xfinity or Comcast or some shit? I'm so sick of these whores.
Xfinity is Comcast, I think.
They're like, pay us. You can pay us this much for a month for your webs, for your internet stuff every month, or we can give you the actual speed, and you can pay us 10 times as much or whatever. But,
yeah, no, they're all assholes. So, and somebody also asked, slightly shifting the conversation here. Somebody asked, do we think that that DC statehood will pass the Senate?
Oh yeah, DC statehood. Hold on. For all our foreign people watching, you should explain to them what that even means.
Yeah, sorry. So the U.S. Has 50 states as of now. And then there's the District of Columbia, which is a district, which means that...
And then there's a bunch of territories. We just let them die in hurricanes, and we're like, whatever.
He's talking about Puerto Rico. But yeah, so there's... D.C. is not a district, is not a state. It's a district. What's the difference? Well, a district does not have statehood rights, and there's a long list of rights that states have that districts don't have. But one of the main things is that we don't have representation. So, for instance, we have shadow representatives. What this means is that our representatives in Congress can literally just like shadow people. It's very creepy. They can shadow people and like lobby for votes, but they can't actually vote, which means that they're totally pointless. And then we have a mayor and a city council, but that's basically like for our, our local issues. We have no say.
The DC, the shadow senator that DC has spends $1 million on his campaign every time to win a seat that doesn't have any votes.
It's very odd. But anyway, so there's been a long-standing fight for DC statehood, and it just recently passed the House. So basically, what the question is now is if it goes to the Senate. Well, I mean, it's going to the Senate. Will it pass in the Senate? I don't think so.
No. It's so as of now, it's got no chance in the Senate. So DC will not become a state. There is a chance that it could pass in the Senate after this next election. If the Democrats were to win a bunch of seats or a few seats, then the Senate could pass it. At which time DC would become a state.
And the reason that this is kind of a split between Democrats and Republicans is because the District of Columbia tends to be like 95% Democrat. So DC
because it's got a lot of black people, and apparently they don't like the white supremacist who's currently in the office.
Well, here's the problem: is that Biden, and I've talked about this. I know. Biden is also a racist. Obama was not good for black communities either, but
people don't understand that, so they all vote Democrat.
Right, and because you're given two choices, the Democrats have, for the most part, relied on votes by women, votes by BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQIA folks, basically anybody who's not like a bigoted white dude. The Democrats expect their vote, and unfortunately, they get it because, in this country, we're programmed to only vote in this kind of binary perspective. So the reason that this is kind of split between Republicans and Democrats is because the district is very Democrat leaning, and so the Republicans don't want another state that would just go to the Democrats at this point.
Okay, so I'm going to do this again since I've done this for a few weeks in a row, and it seems to have gone well. We normally would wrap up after an hour, but if you want 10 extra minutes, if we get $50 of donations that will go to Indigenous Mutual Aid in the next 10 minutes, then we will stay on for a few more. But if you don't like Indigenous people, no problem. I'm not upset. I'm not upset at all.
Oh my gosh, this reminds me of the
David Cross bit.
Yeah, the Whole Foods.
If You Care.
Yeah, what is it called? The brand, the Whole Foods brand called If You Care. That's literally what it's fucking called. And David Cross has a bit where he's like, the logo for that should just be like a sad rabbi, like, well, if you can, you'd buy this.
Thanks,
if you
Lucy.
can. But if you don't, that's fine. That's fine. Then the world will just end, and it'll be your fault that because you didn't care. But I mean, if you care, then you buy it.
Your old Jewish lady is stellar.
That's because I'm related to some. But yes, thank you so much, Lucy. 20 British pounds is basically like $50.
I don't think that's true anymore, but I get the point.
Almost. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Para-character with lovey-dovey eyes.
Thank you. Andrew just threw in $3.
Hearts.
How much is 100 kroner?
You must have money kronor though. It doesn't matter. But basically, we reached 50 is all you need to know.
100 kroners?
That's 10. Well, that's $10. $9. It's $9. But plus the 3, plus the $40 for Lucy.
No, that's 20 pounds.
20 pounds is roughly 40.
No,
oh, for fuck's sake!
Look at what you're forcing me to do.
He's looking it up.
It's $24.70.
Okay, so I'm wrong. Okay, well now it.
Whoa! All right, DID just definitely put us over for basically $50. Thank you, DID.
I think I just wanted I wanted you and us to be the person that put us over the edge. That was some of my
Swedish
yes
bias.
Yes, Lene,
thank you, Emma. Thank you, Moki.
Would you stop interrupting?
Thank you, Jess.
Every single president of the United States has supported white supremacy. Amen. And yes, thank you so much, DID. That's awesome. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Moki. Thank you, Emma. Shiba dog. What is a Shiba dog? Raises and lowers his index finger.
I told you this last time.
To get noticed.
Right there.
Oh.
Hold on, they can't. Wait, you got to see this.
Well, because
you're ruining the effect. Hold on, pencil. Let's get the pencil out of the way. All right, now do it.
The description says Shiba dog raises and lowers his index finger, which is this.
You are correct.
Okay. I don't know what that means. Anyway.
Would it have made any more sense if it was a Shiba dog doing something else?
Thank you, Gary. I don't know what the fuck a Shiba dog is. Anyway. To Lene's point that every U.S. president has upheld white supremacy, I think this is an important thing to discuss with regards to the statues, because some people, particularly here in D.C., there's a statue of Lincoln, who, for folks who don't know, wrote the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves.
Holy shit!
Holy balls!
Thank you, Christine.
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 Wow.
Christine just donated $100.
Thank you so much.
Incredible.
That's fantastic.
Christine, if you're able to, and everybody, if you're able to tune in next week, we will let you know how much money ultimately went to Indigenous Mutual Aid. So thank you.
But so this is an important, so a lot of people are saying, well, why would you want to bring down Lincoln? You know, he's the one who, quote unquote, freed the slaves. And I say that in quotations because slavery is still legal in this country. If you read the 13th Amendment, slavery is outlawed, except for
he ended a large amount of it.
Crime. Right.
Prisoners can still be used for slave labor.
And they are.
But
my point is,
he ended a lot of it.
So this statue, if you look it up, if you do a DuckDuckGo search, don't use Google. If you do a DuckDuckGo, a start page search for Lincoln Monument in DC, kneeling black man, then you'll see an image of this, and it's Lincoln standing and a black man on all fours, basically like groveling at his feet.
So, and here's the thing: at the time, it was actually done as a anti-slavery response to the Confederate statues that were being put up. So it was like, okay, you're going to be racist with your Confederate statues. Here's our answer: Lincoln freeing the slaves. Unfortunately, racism was so intrinsic in their mindset at that time that making a statue of Lincoln looking like Jesus with a groveling black man seemed like the positive thing to put out. And even Frederick Douglass spoke at the unveiling of this monument. So you can understand why people are like, oh, well, it wasn't intended racist at the time. Yeah, but we could put up a better monument. There could be something better there.
Well, and also I think it's important to note, I'm not sure of the exact number, but Abraham Lincoln ordered the execution of several Native Americans and was very
Listen, we all have some skeletons in the closet.
Was very anti-Native American.
Who hasn't killed a couple people? And
if somebody knows the exact, I knew at one point this information. Sorry, I didn't have it ready to go. But so Lincoln, the idea that Lincoln wasn't a part of the U.S. empire, this idea of annexing indigenous land.
I think you were saying indigenous lives.
Annexing, well, that too. Annexing indigenous lives and indigenous land for the glory and the progress of the U.S. empire. So that is U.S. history, and I don't think there should be a monument to Lincoln, even though he did write and pass the Emancipation Proclamation. I think that it's important to look at history in 1862, Lincoln ordered the execution by hanging of 38 Dakota Sioux fighters. Thank you, Rod. But I think it's important to look at history in context and understand.
Thank you, Lene.
And understand. Thank you so much, Lene. And understand the context of the history, but also recognize that we don't have to pedestal, literally and figuratively, we don't have to pedestal these people when we recognize that their choices were incredibly flawed. They were racist. They were imperialist. They were colonialist. We have better people we could build statues to. I mean, right now in Minnesota, there's a petition going around to replace the Columbus statue with a statue of Prince. And I think my only question is, which amazing and sexy pose are you going to choose? Because there are so many. My mom had the brilliant idea that, like, oh, you could make it an interactive statue and have, like, buttons you push that play Prince songs, which I think is fucking brilliant. But we can do so much better. Like, there are so many, like, why not, like, an Emma Goldman statue? You know, it was her birthday yesterday. Like, there are so many people we could build statues to.
Sojourner Truth.
Yeah. Fucking Harriet Tubman, like Frederick Douglass. We have people that we could build statues to.
Lucy Dyer wants a statue of Bill Hicks.
Right? Come on, people. We can do better. So I think, like, the idea of us having to keep these statues in place, even if they're not, straight up Confederate generals, is a falsehood. Because there are better people in our history that we can choose.
Azim says, you're lagging. It's not us that's lagging. It's the internet, okay?
we are on point.
We are talking at a very adamant speed. We're doing our best. We don't know why things are slowed down despite paying for high-level internet. Someone wants a Lenny Bruce statue. I like where this is going. We got, well, let's see.
Yeah,
if you lean over this way, you could have a Dick Gregory statue or a Bill Hicks statue.
Well, there's Bill Hicks right there. Whoop.
And then above that's Carlin.
Whoop.
And more Bill Hicks.
Chuck, where do I click to give on YouTube? There's a little, why don't you
there's a little $sign next to the comment box. So below the comment box, you'll see a smiley face and a $sign. If you click the $sign, you can donate. And thank you, American of Color, for $5.
Matt
thank you guys so much.
America is lagging. That is very true.
That is absolutely true. Okay, we have many people voting for a Carlin statue now. Oh, they did rename the street.
We have several people voting for indigenous statues, which, yes.
No. Far more important to have George Carlin. They did rename a street. Kidding. Rename a street in New York after George Carlin, the one he grew up on.
Ida B. Wells. That's another very good suggestion. I think we should just collect the chat here and. You know, we'll have a great starting point.
These are all good replacements for Columbus Day, too.
God, I mean, Columbus didn't even fucking land in then what is now known as the United States. Fucker didn't even land here. Thank you.
Thank you,
Renee. Yeah. Agree. Although Sophie Shull was not. I mean, I guess you don't have to have a statue to somebody who was born in this country. But Sophie Shull, for those who don't know, she was a founding member of the White Rose in Germany, which was an anti-fascist organization that fought the Nazis. She was hanged when she was 21. Yeah. Do check her out. She was amazing.
Why not Bruce
Emma
Wayne?
Goldman, yes.
Carl Sagan. There's an interesting one.
Bruce Wayne? I'm totally on board with Carl Sagan. At least do Batman in that case. That's the cooler entity of the Bruce Wayne Batman split.
Batman had a lot
Bruce
of
Wayne's like a fucking billionaire who just like, likes cosplay. Like that's not cool.
That's true, but why would you like the cosplay he plays?
Because that's cooler. Because he fights bad people. My question is, why doesn't every billionaire do that?
Yes, actually, people have made, someone commented, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, somebody in Germany. Thank you. Are we just doing like a duet? Or?
Go ahead.
Yeah, they made those statues in Germany, and I don't know if they're still up. I hope they are. But yeah, I absolutely agree. All the whistleblowers need fucking statues to them because they're treated like shit. Oh, that was the other news story I thought we might get to, is that there's new indictments against Julian Assange that claim that he was a hacker and that he paid or requested others to hack into American documents or whatever. And it's all loosely sourced. It mainly is sourcing, the witnesses are government informants, FBI informants that were working to try and catch Julian Assange all along. So really it's horseshit. And it's the real meaning of these new indictments against Julian Assange is just to malign him and to trash him and to make your corporate media have something they can point to so they can say he's not a journalist, which is fucking ridiculous. It's pathetic. And they are fucking, they have the spine of an arthritic jellyfish, these goddamn corporate journalists that won't stand up for a fucking fellow journalist. It sucks.
Yeah, no, it's despicable. And by the way, these journalists that were happy to print the findings of WikiLeaks, they wouldn't have some of their careers were it not for Julian Assange, because a lot of these, Aaron Schwartz, that's a great call there. They wouldn't have, a lot of these journalists wouldn't have, a lot of these reporters wouldn't have the lovely careers that they now enjoy if it weren't for WikiLeaks basically creating the stories for them. So it's really despicable and disgusting that people in corporate media aren't standing up for Assange at all. So yeah.
So we have just a few more minutes left here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. If you'd like to donate in these last few minutes, click the $sign, and all of the proceeds are going. Woo! Hype man. All the proceeds are going to Indigenous Mutual Aid. So feel free to donate, everybody.
Assata Shakur and Malcolm X. Yes, definitely.
Some great recommendations. Someone's asking what I'm drinking. Tonight it's just whiskey. And what did you have in there?
I had a sparkling rosé.
Sparkling rosé.
Oh, Mount Rushmore. Fuck, dude. Okay.
Did someone say that?
Somebody said.
Did you that just pop in your head?
Somebody said Rod wrote for or against giving Mount Rushmore back. That shit should absolutely. Mount Rushmore is despicable. For those who don't know, it's basically a giant carving of 4 presidents on the sacred Black Hills that are sacred to the Lakota people, and it's.
Someone wants ABBA.
Okay, well, all right. Well, we'll talk later. But there's an ABBA museum in Stockholm. You can go there. It's weird, but anyway. So yes, the Black Hills.
It's like the most sacred area for the Lakota, the Black Hills.
It's known as that part of Black Hills is apparently called Six Grandfathers. It's named for the land and the sky and the 4 directions.
Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, so
it's disgusting and I know some people have some issues with the response as well, but I much preferred. I went to visit both when I was in my 20s because I was out there performing at a comedy, and Mount Rushmore is completely soulless. It feels soulless. It feels like an amusement park, and
it's great.
Whereas I went to Crazy Horse, which everybody should, if you haven't heard of this, everybody should look it up to at least look at it, which is a carving of Crazy Horse that they've been working on for 60 years.
80.
80 years, and it's magnificent in certain ways. Now, there are many Lakota who have issues with it. Most of the carving, the sculpture family that's been working on it for all these years is a white Polish family, I believe. And, there's some Lakota have issues. There's some tension there. Some Lakota have issues with it. Some Lakota actually work at the museum. So it's clear that not every Lakota hates it. But anyway, compared to Mount Rushmore, if we can at least say this, it is fucking far more meaningful and has some meaning as opposed to Mount Rushmore, which is this soulless, meaningless carving that is in the middle of an area of the country that was really just meant to shit on Native American sacred land. That's the only reason. Why else would you put it there? It's not like back when they started it in the 40s or 30s or whatever it was, it's not like a lot of people were visiting there. They couldn't fly there. No,
it was purely just another kick in the teeth. Oh, by the way, thank you, Kevin.
Wow, Kevin, thank you.
By the way, Happy Victory Day. Just on, I believe it was June 25th was when I believe my Lakota friend wrote on his page. He wrote on this day, General Custer fucked around and got laid down. So, Happy Victory Day to all Indigenous peoples. I definitely think that, and the other problem, I saw somebody that had mentioned this earlier in the chat, the other problem with these areas in the West, are that they're completely, uranium mines. The water and the land has been poisoned by open pit uranium mines. If you're not familiar with this issue, I definitely recommend that you check it out. You could DuckDuckGo or start page open pit uranium mines. Back during the Cold War, there was a mad dash to find uranium to build up our nuclear power because, that's necessary. So they actually gave people money to just dig in their fucking backyards, to just dig up in their own backyards uranium. And so it's very difficult to even know where all of the uranium mines are because there are, thousands of smaller ones as well as the larger ones, some of which have been closed, but almost none of which have been cleaned up. These are incredibly toxic sites that are just radiating fucking radioactivity. And so this has been a big problem for Indigenous communities out there, many of whom suffer at astronomical rates way above the national average of cancers that are directly linked to increased exposure to radioactivity. So I think that there are so many layered problems, particularly on reservations and Indigenous land that is still, used and lived on by Indigenous people. But the uranium mines are a big, big issue in Lakota and Dakota country. So.
All right, so we will be back this coming weekend, next weekend. It'll be either be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Best way to find out is to join our email list.
A lot of votes for Friday.
A lot of votes for Friday, so maybe we'll be switching to Friday more often. Couple of quick notes. Eleanor's film is at hardroadofhope.com. Go to hardroadofhope.com. You can watch it. It's incredible. It's been getting a lot of awards. It's an hour-long documentary, well worth your time. My free comedy special is at leecampamerican.com. You can go watch that for free right now if you wanted to. And our free podcast is called Common Censored. It comes out every week for free anywhere you get your podcasts. I hope you will check all that out. I also hope that you'll share with people that you're hanging out with us here, and I hope you bring friends next time. Bring friends along.
Yeah, bring friends. And I also have a podcast every other week, Act Out, that's same places as Common Censored, iTunes, Spotify, all of that stuff. So, yeah.
Austin says we give him hope. Thank you so much, Austin. That means a lot.
Thank you. Y'all give us hope. So thank you so much.
That's true.
All of your donations tonight are going to Indigenous Mutual Aid. And so thank you so much for that.
See you soon.